Dear learners, I am Dr. Shweta Tripathi, Assistant Professor, Mechanical Engineering, School of Engineering and Technology, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. I welcome you all in the MOOCs of Energy Resources and Convergent Processes. Till now, in our previous modules, we have discussed various energy resources. We have discussed various types of fuels also. And we all know that the calorific value of fuel is very important. In this module, we are going to discuss the calorific value of the fuels. Learning outcomes of this module is the knowledge of calorific value, knowledge of estimation of calorific value, knowledge of proximate and ultimate analysis and their application in estimation of calorific value, and the measurement of calorific value in laboratories. We will discuss some numerical problems as well to have a in-depth and better understanding. You all are familiar with various types of energy sources and fuels, and we know that each fuel is characterized by the heating values contained in it. We are going to discuss the heating value of various fuels either in solid state, liquid state and gaseous state. Our points of discussion will be limited to proximate and ultimate analysis as well. We will discuss measurement of calorific value, and we will solve some numerical problems on calculation of calorific value on the basis of whatever we have learnt in this module. The calorific value, which is also known as heating value of a fuel, is defined as the quantity of heat released during combustion of a specified amount of it. We all know that during combustion lot of heat is produced, lot of heat is released, and the amount of heat that is released by burning a specified amount of the fuel is known as calorific value. It is a characteristic for each substance, and the units of calorific value are energy per unit of the substance, and because heat is energy which is releasing in this process, so that unit will be energy per unit of substance. And generally substance we measure in kg, or sometime if it is in gaseous state we measure it in meter cube also. So the measure of substance is generally in kg, and the measure of energy, unit of energy is kilocalorie, joule, kilojoule, megajoule. So unit of calorific value are kilocalorie per kg or kilojoule per kg, megajoule per kg, etc. Basically all fuels contain carbon and hydrogen. The combustible element in any fuel is carbon and hydrogen. And during combustion process, we know that this carbon burns to carbon dioxide and hydrogen reacts with oxygen and forms water vapor. The magnitude of calorific value depends on the phase of water vapor in the products of combustion. So we have two kinds of heating value. One is high heating value or gross calorific value. Higher heating value or gross calorific value is obtained when the water formed by combustion is completely condensed. The second one is lower calorific value or net calorific value, and it is the amount of heat released by complete combustion of unit quantity of fuel when vapor carries its heat of vaporization. In the higher calorific value or higher heating value or gross calorific value, it is assumed that the water of combustion is entirely condensed and that the heat contained in the water vapor is recovered. We can define it as the heat released when unit mass of fuel is burnt completely at constant volume under the pressure 25 to 30 bars in saturated oxygen. In the lower calorific value or lower heating value, we also call it net calorific value. It is assumed that the products of combustion contained the water vapor and that the heat in the water vapor is not recovered. In other words, the net calorific value is derived from the gross calorific value by deducting the latent heat of vaporization of water present and formed. So, we can say that net calorific value is equal to, by empirically we can say that net calorific value is equal to gross calorific value minus 0.222% of hydrogen. It can also be calculated by proximate or ultimate analysis and is given by NCV, that is net calorific value is equal to gross calorific value minus 2.45 into sum of percentage of hydrogen plus percentage of external moisture plus HW, that is from gross calorific value we are subtracting the sensible heat of water vapor, sensible heat of water in between 25 to 100 degrees centigrade. We are subtracting some percentage of hydrogen and moisture multiplied by 2.45. 9 times of percentage of hydrogen plus percentage of external moisture, and both of these are multiplied by, addition of both of these are multiplied by 2.45 plus sensible heat of water, and we are going to deduct it by gross calorific value because we have to deduct the latent heat of vaporization of water present in it. In many applications, burning fuels produce water vapor which is not used. This means that heat content of this water vapor is wasted. In such applications, the lower heating value is used. For example, in case of natural gas, much water is produced because of high hydrogen content in the natural gas. But this water vapor is totally a waste. It is not utilized. So, in this case, we are going to use lower heating value of the fuel. The gross calorific value is useful for gas burnt in condensing boilers and power plants with flue gas condensation, which condense the water vapor produced by combustion, recovering heat which would otherwise be wasted. Generally, heat recovery procedure is there, process of heat recovery is there. So, there we use gross calorific value. So, this is the basic difference between net calorific value and gross calorific value, and their applications where they are, where we are going to use them or characterize the fuel by them. Then comes the calorific values of solid fuel. Almost all fuels have calorific value, whether it is solid, liquid and gas. It is a property of all kind of fuel. And the calorific value of solid fuel, if we talk about, so coal is the fuel, then if we talk about the calorific values of coal, they are expressed in terms of many parameters. For example, one is AR, as received basis. It indicates that the fuel heating value has been measured with all moisture and ash forming minerals present in it. Then comes the MF or dry coal, MF or dry calorific. In this, what happens, MF means moisture free. So moisture free or dry. This indicates that the fuel heating value has been measured after the fuel has been dried of all inherent moisture but still retaining its ash forming minerals. So in AR, moisture and ash both are there. In moisture free or dry, moisture is not there but ash is still there. The third parameter is moisture and ash free, we call it MAF, or we call it DAF also. DAF is dry and ash free. So as the name indicates, this indicates that the fuel heating value has been measured in the absence of inherent moisture and ash forming minerals. So in this category, what happens? Neither we have ash nor we have moisture in our coal that we are going to use for the estimation of calorific value. Generally, the calorific value of a coal depends upon its grade and its chemical composition also. The chemical composition of the coal is usually defined in terms of proximate analysis and ultimate analysis. In proximate analysis, the variables are fixed carbon, moisture, ash and volatile matter. And the gross calorific value may be estimated from the proximate analysis of coal and is given by the relation gross calorific value is equal to 4.19 into 82 into fixed carbon plus A is some constant, empirical constant, A multiplied by volatile material. So what we need to know that from the composition point of view, we want to know fixed carbon and volatile matter only, and from this we could calculate or estimate gross calorific value of the coal. Then comes the ultimate analysis. The ultimate analysis aims at determination of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur and oxygen within the coal. If we know the mass percentages of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur, then the calorific value of coal can be determined by an empirical relation, but this empirical relation could be used only if oxygen content is less than 10%, otherwise we can't use this empirical relation. So gross calorific value will be 33.7 into mass percentage of carbon plus 1442 into mass percentage of hydrogen minus mass percentage of oxygen divided by 8 plus 93 times mass percentage of sulfur. Here we have to be careful that here C, H, O and S are in mass percentages. Then comes the lab method, or in how we calculate or how we estimate the calorific value of solid and liquid fuels in laboratory. Generally the procedure for gas is different and procedure for solid and liquids are same. The calorific value is generally measured in a bomb calorimeter. The apparatus is bomb calorimeter, and the calorific value of powdered and liquid fuel is determined at constant volume in bomb calorimeter. It resembles the shape of bomb and thus known as bomb calorimeter. The calorimeter is made of austenitic steel which provides considerable resistance to corrosion and enables it to withstand high pressure. And the fuel sample, that is either in the form of powder in case of liquid or liquid fuel in some drops. The fuel sample is placed in crucible inside the bomb, which is filled with oxygen under a pressure above 25 atmospheric pressure. the calorimeter is filled with water jacket with a jacket of water and air. A stirrer is kept there for keeping the temperature of water uniform, and a thermometer is there to measure the temperature up to accuracy of almost 0.001 degree centigrade. These all are fitted through the lid of calorimeter. Now to start with the procedure, we take 1 gram of fuel sample as briquette and is placed into the crucible with a fuse wire is connected with electrode, and to absorb the combustion products of sulfur and nitrogen, 2 ml of water is poured in the bomb. Bomb is then supplied with pure oxygen through the wall to an amount of 25 atmospheric pressure. The bomb is then placed in weight quantity of water in the calorimeter. The stirring is started after making necessary connections, whatever electrical connections needed, and when calorimeter indicates a steady state temperature, fuel is fired and we note down the temperature readings. The pressure is slowly released through the exhaust valve and the contents of bomb are carefully weighed for further analysis. The heat released by combustion of fuel is absorbed by water surrounding the bomb and calorimeter. And from the above data that we had recorded, the calorific value is estimated. What we have noted? We have noted heat released by fuel sample, let us say is Wf into C. Because it is fuel sample, so we are giving a subscript F. Heat received by water and calorimeter, it will be water and calorimeter. So weight will be WW plus WE into specific heat, that is C, into mCp, then dt. So what will be dt? That is initial temperature of water and calorimeter, and T2 is radiation coefficient, whatever the temperature is for the radiation coefficient. So here what we have to do? We have to do mCp dt. Heat released is given by mc delta T. So for the heat released by the fuel sample, it is Wf into C. Heat received by water and calorimeter, it will be the weight of water and calorimeter multiplied by calorific value of fuel, higher calorific value here we have, and then water equivalent of W is water equivalent of calorimeter. Wf, we know that it is water sample, weight of water, and Wf is weight of fuel sample. Now as we have discussed that heat released by fuel sample will be equal to heat received by water and calorimeter. So we are going to equate this, both of them. So what will be there? From here we will calculate the value of C, that is calorific value of fuel, which is common in both the equation. Heat released by fuel sample, there is C, and heat received by water and calorimeter, there is also C. In both the places we will take temperature, and from here we will calculate the heat released by fuel sample. From here we will calculate the calorific value of the fuel sample. If we talk about the calorific value of some of the coal, then anthracite is having gross calorific value of 32,500 to 34,000 kilojoule per kg. Bituminous is having 17,000 to 23,250 kilojoule per kg. Wood is, if we talk about wood in dry state, it is from 14,000 13,400 kilojoule per kg to 17,400 kilojoule per kg depending upon the combustible quality of wood. If we talk about the liquid fuels, the gas oil is having calorific value of 38,000 kilojoule per liter. If we talk about heavy fuel oil, it is 41,200 kilojoule per liter. Diesel is having 44,800 kilojoule per liter and petrol is having 48,000 kilojoule per kg. So this is the gross calorific value for this solid and liquid fuels. Then comes the lab method for or how we are going to estimate the calorific value of gaseous fuels. So the calorific value of gaseous fuel is determined by Junkers or Price gas calorimeter. The metered gaseous fuel is continuously supplied to calorimeter at constant pressure where it is burnt in the presence of air. If we talk about the simplest construction of this gas calorimeter, it consists of a combustion chamber in which the gas is burned. A water jacket is also there through which a set of tubes called flue gas pass surrounds this chamber, and thermometers are incorporated at different places to measure the temperatures. If we talk about the procedure, what we do, a metered quantity of gas whose calorific value is to be determined is supplied to the gas burner via a gas flow meter which records its volume, and a gas pressure regulator is also there to measure the pressure of the gas, and the regulator is having a manometer simply to record the pressure. When the gas burns, the hot products of combustion travel upwards in the chamber and then downwards through the flue gases and finally escape to the atmosphere through the outlet. The temperature of the escaping gas is recorded by the thermometer fitted at the exit, and this temperature should be as close to room temperature as possible so that the entire heat of combustion is absorbed by the water. The cold water enters the calorimeter near the bottom and leaves near the top. Water which is formed by condensation of steam is collected in a pot. The quantity of gas used during the experiment is accurately measured by the meter, and the temperatures of ingoing and outgoing water as indicated by the thermometers. From the above data, the calorific value of the gas can be calculated. If we talk about some of the gases and their higher calorific values or gross calorific values, hydrogen is having 13,000 kilojoule per meter cube. The calorific value of natural gas is 43,000 kilojoule per meter cube. Acetylene, it is 56,000 kilojoule per meter cube. Butane, it is 1,33,000 kilojoule per meter cube. Propane, it is 1,01,000 kilojoule per meter cube. For hydrogen, it is 1,41,790 kilojoule per meter cube, and for town gas it is 18,000 kilojoule per meter cube. So for methane it is 39,820 kilojoule per meter cube. Generally we are using methane more. It is a major element in natural gas. Then let us see some example that how we are going to calculate it so that you will understand the concept better. A coal has gross calorific value as 30 megajoule per kg, and it has 5% hydrogen and 15% moisture. If the sensible heat of water is 2.45 megajoule per kg, what will be the net calorific value, or determine the net calorific value? We know the gross calorific value. Gross calorific value is 30 megajoule per kg. We know the mass percentage of hydrogen, that is 5%. We know moisture, mass percentage of moisture, it is 15%, that is 0.15. We know that sensible heat of water, which is given by HW, is also 2.45 megajoule per kg. Now we had already discussed the relationship between gross calorific value and net calorific value, and we know that net calorific value is equal to gross calorific value minus 2.45 times, within bracket, 9 times of mass of hydrogen plus mass of moisture plus sensible heat of water, and we will get 26.08 megajoule per kg. We have, then let us discuss a second example. It is on the ultimate analysis of coal, and we know that the mass percentage of in this particular problem, mass percentage of carbon is 65.7, mass percentage of hydrogen is 4, and mass percentage of oxygen is equal to 6.2, and mass percentage of sulfur is 1.7. Then we have to calculate the calorific value of coal. We already know the equation that gross calorific value is equal to 33.7 into the mass percentage of carbon plus 1442 times the mass percentage of hydrogen minus 1 by 8 of mass percentage of oxygen plus 93 times mass percentage of sulfur. Just put all the values and you will get 26.94 megajoule per kg. So let us discuss one simple example, that we have to determine the energy needed from different fuels, either from electricity, coal, natural gas and wood, to run a 100-watt light bulb for a year. So how much quantity or how much energy of this will be needed? So let's first decide that how much electricity will be needed to light a 100-watt bulb for a year. Quite obvious, 365 days per year into 24 hours per day into 100 watt and divided by 1000 to convert it into kilowatt, and we are going to get 876 kilowatt hour, that is equal to 33,153.6 megajoule. If we talk about wood, how much wood will be required to produce this much energy, then the calorific value of wood, we know, or you could see it from the table that we had given, it is in the range of 14,400 minus 17,400 kilojoule per kg. Let us take 14,400. So the wood required will be in between 181 to 219 kg to produce this much of power. If we talk about the coal, the calorific value of coal is in the range of 15,000 to 27,000 kilojoule per kg. So the amount of coal required will be 117 to 210 kg. Just only